Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank God we're starting a new day. Thank God we woke up today. Thank God we're able to learn the Torah. And thank God we have the Torah to learn. But the world still needs to be fixed up. And that's what we're trying to do here today. Here we go. Ready? Here is our charity. Let's give charity. Don't be stingy. Give charity from what you have, and God will give you even more. So you can give even more, etc. And let us say a small word of thanks to the creator of the universe, the almighty creator who cares about each and every one of us individually and answers all of our prayers, the creator himself. As King David said so beautifully in Psalm 118, Hodu Hashem Kitov Kilon Chazdo. Give thanks to God. He is good, and forever is his kindness, or eternally is his kindness. Which basically is the same thing, because eternally is in time, and la'olam means to the world, to the world, forever and to the world. But if we say really forever, la'olam means forever. It means it's unlimited. So unlimited means it's not limited to any particular time or whatever. This is also in Psalm 136. Also starts out the same way. King David was very impressed with God's goodness and God's closeness. And we should be too. Here we go. Good morning. Vayilkat Yosef, that Yosef gathered up. It's a sentence in this week's Torah. Yosef gathered up all of the money in the land of Egypt, and Yosef took all the money to the house of Paro. All the money in Egypt basically means all the money in the world. I'm sure you all know the story, what happened, that wait one second. That Paro had a dream and he couldn't interpret it. And one of his ministers who had been in prison, and in prison he met with this Jewish fellow called Yosef. He told the Paro about Yosef's dream interpreting talents. And Paro said, bring him out. I'm willing to do anything. This dream is meaningful. And I don't know what it means, but I know it means something. It really bothers me. So they took out Yosef. Yosef interpreted the dream, saying that there's going to be 7 years of plenty. Don't eat it up. Save all of the plenty. Put it into storage. Everybody's going to think you're crazy because everybody's going to have a good time. It says plenty. Why not? Don't let them do it. Everybody has to be frugal and economical as possible. And because there's going to be 7 bad years. And sure enough, that's what happened. All of a sudden, after the 7 good years, there was this terrible famine. And eventually, and Pharaoh had all the food in the world. Nobody had any food. Everybody else, they had to sold themselves. So it says that Yosef took all of this money and he brought it all to Pharaoh. So he had all the money in the world. Huh? Hine, behold, Omer Rizal, the rabbis say. So, I mean, you can ask a question if you want to. You can ask a question. I hope you ask a question. If he's got what is worth all of the money in the world? Does that make any sense? I mean, if a person has all the money in the world, it means that he owns everything. So you own everything, so you don't have to buy anything. You don't need anything. He said he even owned all the people. All the people became. So what benefit then is money? If everybody, he owns everything, so he can't buy anything from anybody because he owns everything, right? And the people, he can't like pay people for working because they're all his slaves that he feeds them. Anyway, the economists will deal with this, but it says that in the Gemara, it says that he gathered not just physical money. That's what he gathered together. It says, Hine Omer is all the rabbis say. It says it's in the Talmud in Psachim. Shlosh madmonios hitmin Yosef. That one of three treasures Yosef hid. One of them will be given to Korach. You know, Korach was this Jew that he was one of those that went out of Egypt, and he was a Kohen. He was a Levite, and eventually he made big troubles for Moses. Korach. What do you mean big trouble? He made the biggest trouble possible for Moses. He convinced all of the Jews to rebel against Moses. Everybody. They all rebelled against him. Probably the women not. The women not. The women were, they always, didn't have, the women were not problematic. The Lubavitcher Rebbe once said, I haven't got any problem with the women. My problem is with the men. Because he wanted to inspire everybody for Moshiach and things like that. And the men always had, that let's think about it. Maybe not too excited. But the women didn't have any problem. So also the same. So it says that one of the treasures was revealed by Korach. Even now among the Jews, I don't know, it's the religious, the Jews, there's a saying, rich like Korach, Ashir ka Korach. So he divided this riches that he had into three. 1/3 of it was revealed by Korach. One of them is going to be, Korach was like when the Jews were in the desert, right? One of them was revealed, Antoninus. Antoninus, this is in the second temple. Near the end of the second temple. This is like around the time of Hanukkah and all this. Antoninus, he was the friend, Antoninus, he was a good friend of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. They were good friends, Yehuda HaNasi. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi was like the last of the, what they call the Tanaim. He was the one that wrote the Mishnah. This is right at the end of the second temple. Anyway, so one of them was revealed. How long after that was? That was like, let's say, almost 1,000 years later, 900 years later, something like that. After Korach was Antoninus. So one of them was revealed by Korach, one of them was Antoninus. The Achad, and one is going to be given for the tzaddikim in the future. Now, why did the tzaddikim need all this money? We'll see. Well, let's understand what exactly is going on over here. What does this mean? Now, again, we have to remember that everything that's found in the Torah is inside of us as well. And when we're saying the Torah, it also means the Talmud. Everything that's there as a message for us and to awaken something inside of us, whether something we should emphasize, whether something we should de-emphasize, whether there's things that we should ignore, whether things that we have to discover, but everything is inside, everything in the Torah. That's the idea of the Torah. So what has this got? These three treasures. One of them was found by Korach, one by Antoninus, and one for the tzaddikim. Now, Korach and Antoninus weren't exactly big tzaddikim. They weren't very holy people. They had this money. Why God gave it to them? Who knows? There's a saying in Yiddish that says, if you want to know what God thinks of money, look who he gives it to, right? You get all these evil people, they have all these, massive, massive fortunes. Okay, there's certainly are good people that have money also. But we see that there's terrible people and terrible organizations or whatever, and they have, they're rich like Korach. Okay, so let's understand this. What does this mean to us? What does it mean to me and you that we're gonna get all this money, and that tzaddikim in the future, everybody's gonna get? What's going on? Because see, it says Or Zeru. It's a sentence in Psalms. Or Zeru l'tzaddik, light is planted for the righteous. Light, Ligh, light, like light and dark. There's some sort of spiritual light which is Zerua, planted for the tzaddik, for the righteous. Yadu, it's known, the Hainu Bechinas or Kadmo. What type of light is this? This is the first light, the Havi Nehir, that was shining from one end of the world to the other. The Ganis that Kodesh Baruch Hu concealed it for the tzaddikim. Okay, what's going on? The world is real, right? The world is real. The world is here. But the fact is the world is only just a little ray of reality. What we see is a little tiny wisp of a ray, of a reflection, whatever it is, and it goes through all these veils and concealments, and that's all these Kabbalah books, genuine Kabbalah books talk about. It says, but this world is real, but it's a very, very low level of reality. I mean, maybe you didn't know there was such a thing as different levels of reality. But this is not. It's not like alternative worlds. This world is a creation. God wants it to be here, but it's a very, very low experience of reality. What is reality? Reality is God. Reality is the creator. God doesn't exist in any way that we can understand. We can't say God exists like we know, like we exist. Our existence comes from God. God creates us. What does that mean? Who knows what it means? I don't know what it means, but that's the fact. That's what the Torah says. God creates the whole business. God creates the heavens, which is all the spiritual worlds. God's created. So this real reality of what God is, we know is incomprehensible. It's not even in the category of being comprehensible. Right? It's like saying, can you smell nuclear physics? What is the smell of nuclear physics? It's a stupid thing. Your nose is not the proper instrument to understand mathematics or a mathematical problem, right? You bring a person, can you solve this problem? Nobody's been able to solve this mathematical problem. Let's see. I got the answer. It's 5. That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. The same thing as your mind is not the proper instrument. That's even more ridiculous. At least smell and mathematics is in the same, same reality. It's creations, but your mind can't understand God. So that God creates the world, the fact that God can create the world, something, so to speak, looks like it's separate from God, that's called God's light. And that's the first light of God. This light of God is true reality. That's what reality really is. Reality is. And God wants us to eventually partake of this. That's what Adam would have partaken of if he wouldn't have eaten from the tree. I guess maybe he was really hungry or something, who knows what. But whatever it is, he opted out from this true reality and he decided rather his own personal reality. That's what God said to Adam, don't eat from it because you're going to be like God. The snake said it, actually. The snakes. So it says that this light, it says there's light which is hidden for the tzaddikim. So again, we said there was, Yosef gathered up all these treasures. 1/3 of the treasures was revealed by Korach. 1/3 is revealed for Antoninos. And 1/3 is for the tzaddikim in the future. Right? Hidden. So what is this hidden treasure? What are we talking about? What type of treasure it is? So we're talking about all 3 of these things, all 3 of these treasures that Korach got and that Antoninos got, and that the tzaddikim, these is what the light of God. Light of God is reality. To the Korach and Antoninos, the reality manifested itself as money, riches, power. That's the ultimate reality for them. They got what's ultimately real, riches, right? You're rich, you're everything. famous story about Henry Ford. Henry Ford was a very rich person. I mean, a little bit, but he was a big anti-Semite. So somebody took him to court about his anti-Semitism. So the judge, I don't know exactly how it went down, but his judges, his defense said that he's not an anti-Semite. He's just an ignoramus. He was taught that Jews are bad, and so there he said. So they said, "Let's see, what type of an ignoramus are you?" And so they asked him some questions. They asked him a question in mathematics. They asked him a question in this and this, and he genuinely didn't know. He said, "You don't know how these things. Oh, you don't know all these things. How could you be so rich?" He said, "Listen, what do I have to know all these things? I buy the professors. If I have a question, I pay a professor. He gives me what do I have to know. I don't have to know nothing. You have money. You're rich. You're famous. You're smart. You can sing good. You're humorous. You got a fantastic sense of humor. Everything. You're rich, right? No matter what." Right, the richest person in the world. Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? Everybody's rolling on the ground. That's the funniest joke I ever, because he's rich and everybody wants to be in his favor. So that's what, to them, that was ultimate reality. That's what I think. Anyway, the tzaddikim, they're not so interested in money. That's not their so interest in money. Money is not bad. Money's okay. But that's not what they're interested in. They're interested in this true reality, which was hidden for them for the future, which Adam should, the first man should have gotten, but he didn't. Okay, let's understand this. Now the Rebbe is saying this because it's also relevant to us. We can also get this true reality. And the true reality is not out of this world. True reality is seeing what this world really is. That was the Holy Temple. The Holy Temple was true reality. You got a little taste of, in the Holy of Holies, it was true. That's what true reality was. Holy Temple, it was Holy Temple, the Holy of Holies was a building in this physical world. There's a place in this physical world. This world is higher than heaven. And here will be revealed this ultimate reality. So let's get to this. This is what we're talking about. You can see it says, or Zerul Tzaddik, right? It says this is the first reality that shined from one end of the world to the other. Inyan Geniza, what does it mean that God concealed this light? Yuvan, we can understand. Ba'avodat Hashem, in the service of God. Yimsa Beis Bechinas, there are found two levels. Ba'avos Hashem, in the love of God. One of them is love. Okay, again. So what should be the real occupation of the world? But what is the real? The world should be concerned with reality. Reality. So all the religions in the world, they say that this world is a big fake out. It's a big lie, and it just makes people go against God. And that's a good point. That's a good point. But it's only half of the picture. They think this world is bad and the spiritual worlds are good. But like that, this physical world and the spiritual worlds, that's only half of the picture. The other half of the picture is the Creator himself. So he's much more than half of the picture, 50%. God is 60%. Then you start to realize, one second, what's the other 40%? The spiritual worlds. Say, yeah, but those worlds are also created. So let's give God 70%. And then there's the spiritual worlds, right? And then you start to realize, one second, the spiritual worlds are real, but God is even more real than any of them. So let's give God 90%. And then you start to realize, no, the whole fact of the matter is the whole business is God. God is creating the whole entire thing. But it's so incredibly concealed from us what God is and why God is creating it. Why is God doing it? Just from cruelty, just wants to see us run around like rats in a maze or something. So it says the fact of the matter is all there is God. And that's what should really interest everyone. That's what should really interest everyone. Like, you ever see kids? I remember when we were kids, we used to play this game called Monopoly. I think people still play it. And you used to get excited about it. Hey, that's my money. Hey, I stole that. Hey, you took my thing. You took my man. I don't even remember how you played it. But they get excited about it, right? And then the parents come in. What is all this yelling about? He took my money. He says, listen, it's not real money. It's just a game. What are you playing a game for? They says, nobody took my money. He says, okay, listen, I'll tell you what. I'll give each one of you, if you stop arguing, I'll give you $5. Ooh. Right? This guy had, Park Place or whatever he owned. He owned all the manufacturing industry. He had like $20 billion in monopoly money. But all of a sudden, he says, if you stop arguing $5, he realized it wasn't true. So the same thing, we get all excited about this world, and we get all excited about it. We don't think there's anything more real. But when we start realizing there's something a little bit more real than the world, that we shouldn't, so there is the world, play Monopoly, but don't get so excited about it. Okay, the big difference is Monopoly really is just a game, and this world eventually is not a game. God really wants us to be, okay. So we want reveal, so in this world, we serve God. We realize what real reality is. So when you start to realize what real reality is, then you realize that it comes from God and you start to love God. If you love money, how much more so you should love God? So it says that that's what real reality is. Don't get too interested in money and power and these things. They're not bad, but they're not worthy of our love and our interest. What should be really worthy? God. But we don't feel God, so you got to think about it. It says there's two types of love that can be aroused in serving God. One of them is by means of thinking, contemplating, think about the greatness of God. And that's where Chabad Chassidut comes in. That Chabad. Chabad are three aspects of intellect that you have to activate in order to start to love God, to realize how real God is, but you can't see it from the world. The world is screaming that money is the main thing, or popularity, or success, or whatever. And then the Chassidut is telling you those things are okay, but you have to put it in proper light. Those things, popularity and power, and that's only half of the picture. The other half is God. You start thinking about God a little bit more, you start realizing that once again, God is 60% of the picture. He's not just 50. Then you start to realize once again, maybe God is 70%. And then the more you think about God, how good God is, you start realizing that God is not just better than money, he's twice as good as money. And then you start to realize that God is 3 times better, more valuable than money. The more you realize, the more you start to love God. The more real you feel that God is. So first of all, you have to have the right idea what God is. That's Chachma. Then you have to understand that idea. That's called Bina. And then you have to make it real. That's called Dat. So it says the more from thinking about God, Kishiyamek, when a person thinks in his mind about how great God is, Yolid Mizel will be born in his mind, Hit Palut, a tremendous excitement, Bechuka, with a desire, Hit Lavut, and a, how do you say, excuse me, an excitement and a thirsting, a lust for God. Because there's a sentence that says, according to a person's mind, so he will praise God. The simple meaning is, according to a mind, he is praised. Right? There's a big professor, he's a bigger professor, he's more. Says, but Chassidut explains, no, according to one's mind, a person will praise God. That person's, your excitement, your emotions are drawn after your intellect. And thinking. Right? Somebody gives you $1 million check, and you think, whoa, this is wonderful, thank you. And you kiss the person, someone comes whispering in your ear and says, the check is false. It's a false signature. It's all of a sudden, just keep understanding, all of your excitement goes away. Right? So, wow, really, it's really false. Is this check really real? You're not excited. Somebody else comes up to you and says, that guy that just told you it's false, he's a liar. Oh, all of a sudden you get excited again. And all that goes according to your mind. The same thing is appreciating God. Here, sitting in the world, God is just this sort of weird religious idea that people, what is it, the opiate of the masses, and this. Sigmund Freud famously said, once a person starts thinking about God, it's a sign that he's sick. It's a sign that he's sick. He's neurotic or something like that. Right? God is a neurotic idea because it's just not realistic. It's not really okay. The fact is that these people are really sick. You know, Marx and Freud and those guys. Those were really sick, and they were also Jews. They were really sick people. The fact of the matter is, they were sick. Not about their religion. Just in fact, they were just sick, negative, terrible people. They were smart. Okay, so but thinking in this world, you don't feel God at all. So the Rebbe is telling you that's a mistake. The fact is that real reality is God, and God is creating you. As soon as you realize what God is, then you realize how really, really important you are. That God is creating you. You're not here by accident. And that God is creating the whole universe. Yeah? Start to realize that, then you start to think, listen, maybe, life is not so meaningless. Maybe I got a purpose over here. Okay, it's a big enterprise, but the fact is it's interesting. This love, you come to love God. Listen, there's a lot of people, they never loved anything in their life. They don't love anything in their life. Right? You see, I remember when I was young, all these the people that got excited about movie stars and especially rock and roll stars, right? They went crazy. They were screaming and yelling. It's Elvis, it's the Beatles, it's this. They were screaming and yelling and going crazy. And these people don't know them, and they don't know the people. They don't know who they are, and they have no connection because they're so empty from genuine love that they just want something that makes them feel good, anything, right? So says the Rebbe, this is a big mistake. And in fact, that the solution to all the world's problems is education. If people would just know how to think about God and they would get excited about God. God is not a religious figure. I mean, he's also that, but that's not. God is creating everybody. And God is creating everybody according to the Torah. There's a plan for creation. And when a person realizes God is creating us from love, then we come to love God. God is creating us for free, as we also love God for free. However, this love is what's called, it's a new thing. You give birth to it, shenimsa michadash, that you give birth by means of your intellect. You think about it, and all of a sudden you become a different person. You love God. And there's another type of love, and this is only for the Jews, the second one. There's another level type of love, and this is what's called love, which is concealed. Oh, this is what's going to be talking about the treasures. This is, every Jew can get this. In fact, this is the essence identity of a Jew. This hidden love. She ahava, this is love. She yesh b'teva told us nefesh elokis, which is found in the godly soul. Now, Jewish people have two souls. One soul is a natural, human, normal, spiritual soul, like everybody has. Spiritual. By a Jew, it's a little bit different, but let's say this is explained in the Tanya. A natural soul that you can think about God and you can understand God and you can understand the world. You can use intellect. And also as natural emotions, you get excited about the world, you get excited about money, you get excited about, I say, seek for pleasure. That's what these people, Freud and Marx and all these guys, that's what they thought. That's what man is. An animal. Man is an animal. He has intellect. But the fact of the matter is that man is also created by God, and he's created in God's image. So there's something essentially precious by everyone, and only the Jews know what this is, and that's what's called the godly soul. The godly soul inside of a Jew, this is one package of pure love for God. She chefza betiva, that it desires by its nature, the kalel be'ein sof, it is such a lust for God that it wants to be included in the oneness of God, Shu Makor, which is the source of the source of the whole world. But but the godly soul feels it. This is concealed and hidden. And it comes to be revealed only by means, also by means of thinking, like it says in the Tanya. So both of these types of love come by means of thinking, more exactly contemplating. But one is awakened according to your thinking, and one of them is awakened like miraculously. It's like you opened up the treasure box. When you come to be revealed by means of thinking, but it's nothing new. You're not giving birth to a new type of love of God. From which is born love. This love already was there from the beginning. Was only concealed. By means of deep thinking, it comes out from being concealed to be revealed. So this is a totally different type of love. Maybe we can say something like it's the difference between having a good friend who you love this person because of you have a connection, you think about the good things that he did and this, and a person loving his father, his mother, his parents. The love of his parents is essential, it's deep, it can be covered over. But once you realize this man is my father, and there's nothing to conceal it. He used to beat me when I was young and things like that, so I can't love him. No, he's my father, and just the fact he's my father. This is your father that you have not seen for 60 years. You thought he was dead in the Holocaust, and here is your father. Oh, my father. He doesn't remember anything about him. Just a little bit from his face. It's my father. He hugs his father. He hugs his father, not because of anything he did or anything he said or anything. Which is not the case, let's say, a good friend. A good friend, there's reasons why you like this person. There's reasons why you like. There's something to remember. Oh, I remember him. How we were good friends. How we were this. The love of a father of parents is essential, and the love of again that's okay. Anyway, is essential, and the love of let's say a good friend is something you have to think about. You have to remember about. So it's like loving God because he's your good friend, because of what he does for us and how he cares for us and how he creates the world and how he does all these different reasons. So that gives birth to, so to speak, a new love. It wasn't there before, but you have all these reasons now to love God. And loving God, this essential love, that's like loving your father. All you have to do is just reveal it, but you have to think about it a little bit, right? This is your father you haven't seen for 60 years. 1 second. You're my father. 1 second. What is your parents' name? What's your parents' name? My father's name was Zalman. My mother's name was Zelda. How many children did you have? I had 7 children. You remember any names of them? I remember there was Benjamin, there was this and that. There was Shlomo. Well, I'm Benjamin. You're Daddy, it's my son. So you have to think about a little bit godliness. But as soon as you do, you realize what the essence of what God. I just gave an example. The love of us to God is infinitely more than the love of a person to his parents. But it's something like that. Parenthetically, Freud, who somehow got obsessed with him in this class, and Marx both disagreed with this. They said there's no such a thing as a child loving his parents. There's nothing. You love your parents because they took care of you, right? It's a purely psychological, natural thing. There's no, like dogs and cats, and people just have better memories. You remember it. That's what they said, but it's not true. It's not so. In fact, a child has a natural, innate, deep, intense, irrational love for his parents. Just because they're his parents. This is what the rabbis say. And the same thing, every Jew has a natural, deep love from God. It has to be revealed by thinking about it a little bit, but once it's reached, it's infinite. That's what it says. When there goes in wine, there comes out the sod, the secret, something that's already there. Secret means the secret love. Secret love, and it comes out to revealed by means of thinking. Thinking is called wine. It's the wine of the Torah. Yain, the word wine is the numerical value of the word sod, secret. So once you learn the Torah and you think about the secrets of the Torah that are there, and all of a sudden it opens up the reality of God and our connection to him, which is above any logic, any criteria. The essence of God. I mean, God creates everything. That's, it's pretty amazing. And every Jew is connected to, it says the Jews are before the world. The Jews in the Torah are before the world. The Jews are even before the Torah. That's another meaning when it says that God chose the Jews. But this comes from this essence reality that God has that the Jews are supposed to bring to the world. Which that, by the way, is another reason for hating the Jews, because it's just too real, right? It's the same thing. The Rebbe brings out beautiful. Says that the first Rashi in the Chumash says that God created the heavens and the earth. It says so. Rashi, Rabbeinu Shlomo Yitzchaki, he's the main explainer of the Torah. So he says, what is this doing in the Torah for? What do we care about who created the world? This has nothing to do with Judaism. Judaism starts with Abraham, or maybe it starts with the first commandment when the Jews were in Egypt. Tell those stories. It says, no, it's coming to tell you that God creates the whole entire world. And if the non-Jews come to you and tell you that you stole the land of Israel, so you can tell them that God gave it to us. So the Rebbe says, why would the non-Jews come to the Jews and say, you stole the land of Israel? I mean, every nation, they have their land. No one goes to the French and say, you stole France. The English say, you stole England. I mean, every nation conquered their land from somebody else, right? The English conquered it from the Normans or somebody. I don't know English history. And the French, they conquered it from, for somebody else, whoever was there before. That every nation is there by virtue of conquest. Why only the Jews? So the Rebbe says, I'll tell you why. Because the Jews' connection to Israel is permanent, unconditional. All the other nations, they can be conquered by somebody else and taken over, but the Jews never. They can't be. The land of Israel belongs to the Jews unconditionally. It doesn't make any difference who lives there. Even if a Jew never lived in Israel, ever in the history of the world, there was never one Jew that ever lived in the land of Israel. It's ours. Why? Because God gave it to us. So that's what the non-Jews are angry about. They're angry about, you can't say that you have a land that belongs to you intrinsically. How we took it over. We're living there. Says, no, it doesn't work. So they get angry. That's the secret. That's the secret. It's an essential connection, an indelible connection that can't be moved by anybody. That's the connection between the Jews and God and the Torah and the land of Israel and the commandments. It's all one. It's all pure, true reality that this world doesn't experience now. And we're here in the world, Jews are, that the world should experience it. Well, but emes, really, the fact of the matter is this concealed love is very, very great and much more intense than the love which comes from thinking alone. What happened? Here we go. From the love which is born by thinking. Even though that it's a new type, the first type is new, and this is nothing new. Nevertheless, its source is much higher. To go back to my simile that I made, is no matter how good a friend is, the love that you can have for a friend will never be equal to the love that a person has for his parents. It's a different type of a love. Okay, in this confused world, it's very hard to understand this because we've been, Freud and those people have such a detrimental effect on the value system and the humanity of the world. They try to take humanity out of the humans, that everyone is just like an animal, right? How do they call it? Reduced man to be an animal. But the fact is, it's not so. The fact is, it's not so. And this is one of the main places where it's not so. The love of God and the love of parents. That's why one of the 10 commandments is honor your mother and father. Because when you do that, you start to realize that your parents didn't exist just to give birth to you. You're not the main thing. That you have to give honor to your source. And from that, you learn that you and your parents also have a source, is God. That's called true love. The opposite of true love is egotism. Egotism, right? You just love yourself, so that's false love. So when you think that the whole world was just created for you, so then you can't have any love. You only love yourself, which is not a true love, right? Not a true love. That's why people commit suicide, because they love only themselves. They have nobody except for themselves, and they realize that they themselves are empty. So why should I continue? I'm my biggest enemy. So there's two types of love. One type of love, you love God for reasons, and the other type of God is you love God, and essentially the second type is only for the Jews. Only the Jews have it. The Ava Noledes Mehid, this type of love, which is the first type of love, this is below the Medrega, Rak Shalom Nishpala Kalkach, it does not come down so low. One second, no. Yeah. So low, Kamo Ahava, like the first type of love, which is concealed. So the first type of love, which is concealed, that's like the love of a child to his father. It's very deep and essential. And that's why the Jews are called the sons of God. All those sentences in the Torah talk about the son of God, it's talking about the Jews. Here the Rebbe explains in the Tanya, this level of this concealed love, when it comes to be revealed, this is called Ahava Rabbah. It's called great love. Great love. Shalomaila, which is above another type of love, which is called worldly love, Ahavat Olam, or eternal love, if you want to call it eternal love. But Olam also means from the world, that from thinking with Okay, so one type of love comes by thinking about how good God is, how wonderful God is, how infinite God is, how powerful God is, how eternal God is. And all these thoughts bring you to appreciate God as being the ultimate reality, that God is really real and that God is creating us because he loves us. And from this love that God is creating us as we love God. That's the first type. The second type of love is we think about all these other things, this is how good God is, but it opens up a new realization of how good God is in his essence, not what he does for us, but how infinitely good God is in his essence. Yosef. So that's the level of Yosef. And Yosef, in this physical world, was a person. He was a human being. He lived in the world. He was one of the sons of Jacob. Historical person he lived. But Yosef represented everything in this world represents something. God is creating everything. So God is creating everything with a plan. So every human being has a corresponding plan why he's created. Well, Yosef is the same thing. Yosef corresponds to this level, which is called Tzaddik Elyon, the upper tzaddik. This is talking about this upper love. This is this concealed love which is found in every single Jewish soul. Sheshorsha, that its source is very, very high. This is the level of Yosef. Yosef is Yesod. Yosef is called the tzaddik. Yosef is the level of Yesod, the connection of God. Yud Sod, the Yud, which is the first letter of God's name, Sod, which is concealed. That's why Yosef was the one he could interpret dreams. Right? Dreams, you have a person as like Paro had a dream. He knew for sure it was very, very, very important, and he couldn't figure out what it was. He figured something so important that it disturbed the king's heart. The king knew this was a massive and the earth-shaking thing that was concealed in his dream, and he didn't know what it was. He didn't know what it was. He figured such an earth-shaking thing should be obvious, huh? Should be. It's like the elephant in the room. You know, why is it there's no place in this room? Why does the room smell so bad? Why is it there's an elephant in the room? Don't you understand? There's an elephant. You figure something like this was so massive that was going to change the whole world. Paro had a dream he was going to change that should have been something obvious to him. He says, no, it wasn't. It was so massive and going to change the whole world, and everybody was going to be saved in the world. And it all depended on Paro. And Paro had the dream, he had the secret, but he didn't know what it was. Came along Yosef unlocked it. Yosef unlocked it. The dream is already there. The solution is already there. You don't know what it is. The same thing. God is everywhere. God is here. God is creating us. God's love is so amazing, so intense, right? It's bigger than the elephant in the room. It's 50% of all existence. No, 1 second. If you think about it, it's 60%. Maybe if you think a little bit, finally you realize it's 100%. It's all godliness. The whole thing, it's right in front of us and it's here. And we don't know what it is. It's like the dream. That's what it says, Or Zerul Tzaddik. That's tremendous love for God. That is the light which is concealed for the tzaddikim. This is this Or Kadmo, this is this primal light of God, which is hidden for the tzaddikim, as we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Here we go.